the chance of both the fighters getting a contract is very, very big because 2 billion people are going to be in some manner involved, in some manner invested in this fight.
Welcome back everyone to the Locker Room in the YouTube channel, and today with us we have Somesh Kamra to preview a huge moment for Indian MMA which is coming up this weekend. So Somesh, what's the atmosphere like in Vegas first of all?
Well, it's beautiful in the lovely Sin City of Las Vegas, in the beautiful MGM Grand. Thank you UFC for everything. They kind of flew me down. They're keeping me well. And yeah, the good part was today I was there with Anshul Jubli at the Performance Institute, up close with him. Had a great chat with him. He's looking phenomenal, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. So the morning started off really well with the training session with Anshul Jubli at the Performance Institute, followed by another great meeting with Forrest Griffin himself that was scheduled to discuss the future of the Indian MMA and how do we get more fighters into the road to UFC.
So this event was supposed to be like happening in Korea, like the road to UFC final was supposed to happen in Korea. So for the people that are not aware, like can you
Yes.
tell the circumstances in which the event was shifted to Las Vegas, and how how different is it in Vegas when compared to what was supposed to happen in Korea?
Well, the fight card stayed the same, to be honest. The location got moved because there were rumors of the Asian market having the third or the fourth, COVID scare and lockdown and all of that. And the UFC didn't want to take any chances, with such an important event. However, they really wanted the finals of the road to UFC to be on the Asian side of the world because it would make more sense, whether Chinese, the Koreans, or the Indians, the Indonesians, they all fought somewhere closer to home. But it was the potential COVID scare that that made this decision, or that the entire event needed to be moved to a safer location, which is the Apex.
So you mentioned that you saw Anshul and he's in great shape. And one thing that I want to just tell that some of the betting sites are currently favoring Anshul, and some betting odds are like even. So what do you think of the betting odds or favoring Anshul at this moment?
So Ranjit, yeah, the betting odds are very, very close at the moment, where some websites are showing both the fighters as equal at minus 110. Some betting websites are minus 120 favoring Anshul. So it's a very interesting kind of game that is going on because most people that I've spoken to are looking at the explosiveness and the finishing power of Jeka, but the ones that are betting for Anshul are the ones who are seeing a calmer fighter that can wrestle really well and go the distance. So I do believe that Anshul Jubli definitely has the upper hand. But yes, being our boy coming out of Uttarakhand, India, I will always favor Anshul Jubli in any situation, in any fight.
So what do you think are the strong points for Anshul? You mentioned his wrestling, you mentioned that he's calm. So are those his biggest strong points according to you?
Well, most people, do not know, but it was on your interview that I said moving into his semi-final bout, he had a fracture on his toe, and we did not disclose it. And we went on with the fight, and we saw the split decision win for Anshul Jubli. This camp, I can guarantee you, he's 100% healthy. He's never looked better. So I think apart from just being calm and having great wrestling, man, his hands are going to flow, and we have a great game plan coming up.
So Anshul recently signed with Paradigm Sports as well, like for full representation. So
Yes.
what do you think is the impact of such a contract? Because that's a company that represents names like Conor McGregor, Adesanya, and Anshul, before he competes in the final itself, he gets to representation from them. So what do you think the impact of that particular move is?
See, the people at Paradigm, so, like all the way from Audie Utter till Tim Simpson till Mark Rooney, like the guys who actually manage the big wigs in the organization, are very, very close friends of mine. And to be honest, I just wanted to show the Indian fans exactly how the sport of MMA is kind of not really played, but the journey for any fighter from the moment he comes into the big league to getting a full representation. We could have done this with Bharat Kandare also, but I still held back a little bit and said, you know, let him get that win, let him move ahead, let's kind of, bake this dish a little more. With Anshul Jubli, I know that the dish is getting baked really well, and I just wanted the Indian fighters, the Indian fans, and everybody back home in India to really understand that, once I make that selection, once the person, signs that road to UFC contract, the avenues just open up completely. So it's not that I'm going to manage them, or or do any of that. As a representative and someone that works with the UFC for India, I just wanted the people, the fans and the fighters to understand what all is there in the kitty for them. Because I still feel it's a dream that most people in India are still thinking that they cannot achieve. But I don't know. I don't know what it will take for all the Indian fighters to really understand that yes, we are there. The gateway is in front of them. Just show me what you got, and honestly, we can do a lot of good work together for uh, for the Indian fighters, obviously.
So the current setup is that the winner of the fight will get a contract with the UFC. So is there any possibility that both the fighters might get a contract with the UFC? Like, what do you think of that possibility?
Yes, yes, yes. The possibility is there. In fact, I have been got here by the UFC to really discuss opportunities, not just Anshul Jubli, but the entire country. And again, on the locker room itself, I said I have the permission to get at least 6 or 7 Indian fighters in the next road to UFC. And plus, again, there's a lot more discussion happening right now on the grooming of Indian fighters and how the UFC can groom the Indian fighters, and how that responsibility is kind of put on my head to do more work once I get back. So a lot of good news is coming up. But yeah, you know, the chance of both the fighters getting a contract is very, very big, because the UFC currently do not have fighters from either of the countries. And if you see the sheer population and the backing that both the fighters are getting, it's crazy. You can just go to Anshul's Instagram, it's King of Lions underscore, and just go to the stories and see how these posters have been put up in his hometown in Uttarakhand, and it says, that uh, at at 9 o'clock you can watch Anshul fight on the prelims, and at the same time, Sony is doing a great job by actually airing the prelims uh, back home in our beautiful country.
So there's a revenge angle to this as well. Like if you want to mix up some Bollywood masala stuff, like Jeka won the came to the finals by defeating Pawan Man. So do you think there's a revenge angle to this as well, to make it matters more interesting?
Well, to be really honest, that's a very good narrative to have. But honestly, the sport of mixed martial arts or any combat sport, be it boxing, be it MMA, uh, you are with a team till the cage door shuts, and after that, honestly, you're fighting for yourself. The revenge angle definitely sounds good, and even today when I was there with Anshul at the Performance Institute, he was telling me that I need to avenge the loss of Pawan Man. But I understand the emotion. I love the emotion, but I do believe once the cage door shuts, uh, it's it's one man versus the other man.
So before we leave you, road to UFC 2023, you mentioned that 6 to 7 Indian fighters could get an opportunity. So timeline also we had discussed. So are there any new updates or are there any message that you want to put out regarding road to UFC 2023 and how big it will be for Indian MMA?
Well, it will be really huge for Indian MMA because we are focusing on Asia again. So there are a lot more fighters in the kitty. We've even increased, the weight classes. So we have the 125 pounders that is also come into the mix. We have the female 115 pounders, which is also there in the mix. So honestly, I think it's just becoming bigger uh, due to a COVID scare in the middle, maybe the road to UFC did not kick off the way we wanted to in terms of the sheer scale of it. But honestly, 2023 is going to be much bigger. And yeah, as I said, I'm currently here and in talks with the UFC as to what all we can do. So once the trip is done, I think I'll have way more information and a concrete plan of action that what is coming up in the year 2023 for Indian MMA.
So lastly, how would you hype up this week's fight of Anshul and Jeka?
Oh man, it is in fact so crazy because apart from just being here and being jet lagged, I'm so excited that I've not been able to sleep since the past 2 days, and uh, it is so crazy to see all the people tagging us on social media. So there's a group called I think MMA ecosystem that is heavily analyzing the importance of this particular fight, which is Jeka versus Anshul, because it's maybe I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, both the countries combined are close to 2 billion people, and still there is no UFC fighter from either country that is contracted officially uh, with the promotion. So it's like 2 billion people are going to be in some manner involved, in some manner invested in this fight, and I think that is so huge. And also, being the main event of the prelims, the fight that just is before the main card, I think just shows the importance of this particular fight.